What's going on, team? Proof here, and welcome to my theory deck that I hope to achieve when I'm doing the Revenge of Crusher clan event for Spikes when it comes out tomorrow. The reason I say theory deck is for a couple reasons. First is that I don't know 100% what Bushiroad is going to release in the clan event for us, like I alluded to in yesterday's video. Since they're trying to push up some of the releases, I don't know if they're going to include some of the limit break stuff into the clan event we get tomorrow. So this could be changed based off of that. And also in that it's a theory deck in that I haven't had a chance to play with all the cards yet and fully get a better understanding of all the intricacies that go on with the deck. So what I have here is subject to change, but this is going to give you at least an idea what I'm going to be shooting for tomorrow once I'm doing the clan event when I'm streaming it. So look out for that when it happens. So I'm going with the grade zeros, well, the grade zero and Mecha Trainer, and then go down to the grade threes. So of course I'm gonna start with Mecha Trainer. I think it's much better than Mel because I'd rather have the ability to counterblast, get a grade one, which could be any of my PGs or any of my other grade ones. That way I can have a better idea what I'm trying to build up to in the coming turns. Usually it's going to be used to get a perfect guard, but there are some situations where I might get something else. As for the grade ones, of course, I'm gonna have 4 PGs. I think it's important to have 4 of them, especially in the world where Perfect Riser is here. And in the future, as we get stuff like Majesty Lord Blaster and all these big critical wielding vanguards, we want to be able to have perfect guards at the ready, so that way we can deploy it and then we can try to push them on our swing back turn. And then I have 4 Spike Brothers Assault Squad. Being able to have it available to restand in fast order is important to me going into the event, so I want to have 4 of them. That way I can see it early and often, especially in the condensed format of 40 cards, so I can get on the board. And then other copies still make 6,000 power, which is still pretty decent in the grand scheme of things in my opinion, because we got the 10k vanillas, they give enough power to our other rear guards to do some poke damage if they need to. It's not all in all bad. Then we have 3 Dudley Dan. Being able to have it behind Vanguard quickly is also important to me. That way I don't have to use a counter blast to get it out with Mecha Trainer, and I can keep that relegated to getting myself a perfect guard. And I know you only need 1 and then all the other copies can be tossed away, but as long as you have that first one early, you can then use subsequent copies to then chuck into soul for the one that's on the board, Dudley Dan, to be able to keep getting cards out onto the board for you. You can also use it to convert extra grade 3s in your hand into calling out grade 2s on the board. That way you can get the attack advantage from it and then get the defense advantage from having the extra intercept on the board. Maybe go something like Dudley Dan into Devil Summoner into calling something else out, which is pretty neat in and of itself. And then we have 2 Reckless Express. Reckless is in there just because it can be a mobile, functional, flexible grade 1. That way it can be a booster early on, and then if I need to, I can slide it up, and if I'm trying to go for game, it can become a 12k attacker instantly, and then be able to get out the way for general safe free things, Dudley Dan things. I think it's all in all flexible. I play less of it than say Bracky and Juggernaut, because I think Bracky and Juggernaut are overall better because they attack for more or they have extra utility, and Bracky can be an intercept. Juggernaut is going to be my heal trigger, as you can see down there, and that's why I went with that route. And because Soul Blast, or Soul in and of itself, is a precious resource, and I'd rather function or flow that into using it with Bracky and Juggernaut respectively. There's a pretty big omission in Wonder Boy, and you might be asking yourself why. I don't think Wonder Boy is necessarily needed at the moment because I'd rather use the space for more utility stuff. Once we get Limit Break and we know for certain we're going to have Dudley Emperor, then that's when Wonder Boy probably has a better spot, because then we won't need Dudley Dan in the deck, because Dudley Emperor is overall better, which we'll get to whenever it happens. I can do review of those cards as well. And as for the grade 2s, we got 4 Bracky. As I talked about with Reckless, I think is a very important rear guard to have, because it can attack and get out the way for hit and run tactics, and then just clear that spot out to be called in or filled in with Safe Reed's call or Dudley Dan's call. Something I forgot to talk about with Dudley Dan is that if I'm not on general safe read, it lets me play a less vanilla game, because I can still always use the skill to call something out regardless of whatever my Vanguard is. So that's why it also has that nice utility being the 3 of to see it quickly. But I digress. I've been able to clear that spot out to be filled with Dudley Dan's call or Seyfried's call is very important to have. And it doesn't put too much of a strain on our soul resources because we can use it with Dudley Dan or refill it with Skydiver, and we have a little more ability to have control over the resource because this is fairly finite at the current moment. Then we got 4 Devil Summoner. I use Devil Summoner for the potential to +1 early on. In the condensed format with 40 cards, you're more likely to hit than you are to miss. It's like 40% miss, 60% hit, varying averages depending on what you've seen by the time you play Devil Summoner. But the ability to go Summoner into a grade 1 call is quite high rolly, but it is achievable in this day and age. So something you kind of want to shoot for. At worst, you get a free shuffle out of it, and you might still get the trigger anyway since it's a high chance of seeing one. But it's a high utility grade 2 in that it can get you a needed grade 1, then it become an intercept later and just get out the way because it's going to live for that 1 turn. And next up we have 4 Wakanda. The reason I have him is because he's my primary grade 2 ride, because I'd rather have the 10k body and not fall prey to my opponent having a 9k unboosted attacker. That we just force them to play extra cards, that way you have a better idea what could be remaining in their hand. And then if he's not on your Vanguard, you can call him to the side in your non-combo assault squad side in front of another assault squad and make 16,000, which is a nice number to achieve. And then filling out the rest of it, I put in 1 Spike Bouncer because, as I talked about in my review, it could be kind of awkward to achieve the plus 3,000 power before you hit in Vanguard, but it has some potential upside, more so than Zachary in my mind, which I'll talk about in a hot second. But being able to have that potential upside to hit for decent power is appealing to me, and I'd rather put that in the 1-up slot. Zachary is omitted here because it's a Soul Blast cost, which I'd rather relegate that to the Brackies of the world, and because it can be kind of awkward because it only triggers when it hits the Vanguard. And as I would like to do with this deck, I would rather use my Vanguard and my non-combo side to poke at my opponent's rear guard sides, to poke my opponent's front row rear guards, I should say, and then use any triggers to buff up my assault squad and start comboing off with the Skydiver, Bracky, etc. But that would mean that Zachary is going to exist to not do what it is intended to do, which is to attack, Soul Blast, draw a card, then get out the way for subsequent calls. And that where it felt kind of awkward. That being said, I am going to test Zachary just so that way I can get a more fleshed out idea of whether I truly like it or not. And as for the grade 3s, start off with my main grade 3 in General Seyfried. Being able to call out your grade 3s as you check it as triggers is very strong because they become 2-for-1s in Vanguard 0 through his ability. Unlike in Paper Vanguard, when you check a grade 3, normally it would come to hand, but General Seyfried would call out to the board, which means you don't get that grade 3 in your hand to use for like perfect guards or stuff like that. So it reduces your hand size. In Vanguard 0, the grade 3s in hand don't function the same way, which means that you can call it out to the board through General Seyfried and get the trigger benefit plus attacking benefit from it, which is crazy value. So that's why it's to me it's gonna be my main grade 3 ride. And then if worst comes to worst, if my opponent like burns down my entire field, say where I'm facing Kagura or something, I can attack with General Seyfried, and then he can check a trigger. I can call it out and have a free attacker, and then, or best case scenario, I check double trigger. I get the trigger benefits for both of those, and then I get to call out 2 cards to be able to attack. So I got the tempo advantage from the trigger, and then I got the plus advantage from having just free attackers come out onto the board without having to use my hand to do it, which is crazy. But that's why he's going to be your main grade 3 ride, to be able to use your triggers to that max benefit. He's going to be a draw trigger because as I talked about earlier on, I'm going to be using my Vanguard, at least in some capacity, for rear guard busting, which means that if I check a critical trigger during that time, it's going to go to waste, and we don't want to have waste in the game because we want to use our cards to the max potential. So that's why it's going to be a draw trigger over a critical trigger. There is some credence throughout all my triggers to have potential to be stand triggers because it gives extra utility to my non-combo side extra assault squads, because it can hit, restand, and then the unit that's in front of it could restand through the stand trigger to get another attack in, which is cool synergy there, which is something I'm going to explore later, but I digress again. Next up, we got 4 Juggernaut Maximum. He's going to be my heal trigger. The reason for that is because he's the only grade 3 in the deck that can return back to deck if it's in my hand. So if I draw it early, I can plop it down, use it to attack, put it back into the deck, and then sometime later in the game, I can, after I've shuffled and redistributed it, I can check it, and then if I'm on general save free, I can also call it to be able to attack once more, which is cool synergy there. Then I have 4 Skydiver. He's going to be a draw trigger as well. I have him as a 4 of because he's very strong and it's better than United Attacker, the last grade 3, but it's one of the combo starters for the deck in that you put it in front of your assault squad, you attack with it after you've done your previous attacks. Hopefully you hit a trigger to buff up assault squad. It can attack. Skydiver activates to pop into the soul. You call something else out. It could be anything from another Skydiver into Bracky or Juggernaut Maximum, or just another grade 2 that you could have in hand, so that way you convert an attack into another intercept, so you get nice little 1-2 attack and defense out of it. If you have an assault squad and you call out, say, Panther, that makes 21,000, which is good enough to usually hit over your opponent hitting a damage trigger, depending on what time of attack it is, or what time it is once you do that attack. So a lot of utility, a lot of function. Be able to combo offense and defense at the same time into one hit is incredible value. And then last but not least, we have like the body filler, the warm body to fill out the 13 need in United Attacker. At worst, or at best, he's going to be on your Vanguard instead of safe read. He gets plus 2,000 power for his soul charge, and then he makes 16,000 if you have Deadly Dam behind it, which is decent enough to hit over your opponent hitting the damage shield in most cases, unless it's a trigger. But overall, it's going to be a warm body. More likely than not, you're going to toss it into your soul with Deadly Dam to call something else out that you're going to get more benefit out of. You're not going to be using the Mega Blast, in my opinion, because Soul and Counter Blast are going to be used for some of your other cards. But that'll do it for the deck. I'm excited to play when the spikes come out tomorrow. I'm going to be streaming it at some time during the day, so look out for that. I'm probably going to leave a link or a little video clip saying come join. And yeah, that'll do it for me. And until the next one, peace. Be easy.